The massive Tecral warship cut through the darkness of space, emerging suddenly above Earth. Its huge crystalline hull shone with a strange light that no human eye had ever seen before. The ship was bigger than anything humans had built, nearly 5 miles long and shaped like a curved blade. Commander Juan walked across the bridge of his mighty ship, his tall figure casting long shadows. His gray skin had the texture of polished stone, and his 4 eyes scanned multiple displays at once. The Tecral were warriors, conquerors, and they had never known defeat. "Another primitive world for our collection," Juan said to Dury, his loyal second-in-command who stood nearby. Dury was shorter but broader, with darker skin and the battle scars that marked a veteran of many conquests. "Scan for population centers and defense capabilities." Dury tapped commands into the ship's control panel. The screens filled with images of Earth's cities, military bases, and communication networks. "This world is divided into many small territories," Dury reported. "They fight among themselves. Their weapons are primitive, mostly chemical explosives and basic nuclear devices. Nothing that could harm our hull." The Tecral had good reason for their confidence. Their ships were protected by quantum-locked molecular bonds, a technology they had stolen from a now-extinct civilization. These bonds made their ships virtually indestructible. No weapon had ever penetrated their defenses. "Begin the standard approach," Juan ordered. "Position us above their largest city. Prepare the display of force." The great ship moved silently through Earth's upper atmosphere, its engines leaving a faint blue trail that astronomers across the planet were already noticing with growing alarm. "Look at their communication networks," said Dury with amusement. "They've detected us. They're panicking." Juan smiled coldly. "Fear is useful. It makes conquest easier." The Tecral had conquered 17 planetary systems over the past century. Earth would be the 18th. "Their resources are plentiful," observed the ship's science officer, examining data on Earth's minerals, water, and biological diversity. "This will be a valuable addition to the Empire." On the planet below, humans were indeed noticing the alien arrival. At a military base in North America, radar operators stared in disbelief at their screens. "Sir, the object is massive. It's descended to approximately 100,000 feet above New York City," reported a young technician, her voice shaking. General Park looked at the readings and immediately reached for the red phone. "Get me the president. Now." Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Europe, Asia, and other continents, military forces went on high alert. Fighter jets scrambled, missile systems activated, and government leaders rushed to secure bunkers. At the United Nations, an emergency session was hastily convened. Diplomats from nearly every nation gathered, their faces pale with worry. "What do we know about this object?" demanded the Secretary General. "Very little," replied the chief scientific advisor. "It's approximately 8 kilometers long, composed of an unknown crystalline material. It's holding position above New York City." In a remote mountain observatory in South Korea, Dr. Yun worked alone. She had been tracking the curious space anomaly when her instruments went wild. Now she stared at data pouring in about the alien vessel. Dr. Yun was not like other scientists. Where others saw problems, she saw patterns. Where others felt fear, she felt curiosity. At 42, she had already revolutionized quantum field theory. But her unconventional ideas had kept her at this isolated facility, rather than at a prestigious university. Her fingers flew across her keyboard as she analyzed the ship's energy signature. The readings showed something strange: regular fluctuations in the ship's external energy field. "This can't be right," she whispered, pushing her glasses up her nose. She ran the calculations again. The pattern remained. The ship's seemingly impenetrable hull had a rhythm to it, like a heartbeat or a musical note. Dr. Yun grabbed her phone and called her old colleague at the Defense Ministry. "Min, it's me. I have data on the alien ship. I need to speak to whoever is in charge of the response. This is important." Back on the Tecral ship, Commander Juan prepared for first contact. "Begin the display," he ordered. From the underside of the ship, a brilliant beam of light shot downward, striking the empty waters of the harbor near New York City. The water boiled instantly, creating a massive plume of steam visible for miles. "A simple demonstration of power," Juan said. "Now broadcast our message. All across Earth, electronic devices, televisions, radios, computers, phones suddenly displayed the same image. Commander Juan's stern face. People of Earth, the message began in perfect English and dozens of other languages simultaneously. I am Commander Juan of the Takral Empire. Your planet now belongs to us. Your resources will serve our needs. Your people will work under our direction. Resistance is futile and will be met with severe punishment. Your leaders have 6 Earth hours to surrender officially, or we will begin destroying your cities. This is the natural order. The strong rule the weak." The message ended, leaving billions of humans in shock and fear. In Washington, military leaders gathered in the White House Situation Room. "What options do we have?" asked the president. "We've analyzed their demonstration in New York Harbor," replied the defense secretary. "The energy output suggests weapons far beyond our capability. A direct military confrontation would be problematic." Meanwhile, Dr. Yun was being rushed by military helicopter to the Capitol. In her laptop were the calculations showing the ship's strange resonance pattern. As the helicopter flew through the night sky, she refined her theory. If the ship's molecular structure operated on quantum principles, then perhaps it had a fundamental frequency, a resonance point that, if matched exactly, could disrupt those seemingly impenetrable bonds. "It's like an opera singer breaking a glass with just her voice," she muttered to herself. "Everything has a breaking point." As dawn broke across a frightened Earth, the countdown to the Takral deadline continued. Humanity faced its greatest threat ever. But in the mind of one physicist, the first spark of a possible solution was forming. Dr. Yun looked up at the alien ship visible in the morning sky. "Your Unbreakable ship might have a weakness after all," she whispered. The world had never truly been united before this moment. In the Grand Hall of the United Nations, leaders who had been enemies just days ago now sat side by side. The room hummed with tense energy as screens displayed the massive alien ship still hovering above New York City. "We have less than 4 hours remaining before their deadline," said the Secretary General, her voice echoing in the hushed chamber. "All conventional military options have been deemed insufficient." That was a polite way of saying what everyone knew. Earth's most powerful weapons would likely bounce off the alien ship like pebbles thrown at a tank. Colonel Kang sat at the far end of the table, studying the briefing materials. At 45, he was one of South Korea's most decorated military pilots, now heading the experimental aerospace division. His weathered face showed no fear, only focused concentration. "The Falcon is our best option for close reconnaissance," he said when called upon. "It's the only aircraft we have with experimental stealth technology that might evade their sensors." The Falcon was not meant to be revealed to the world yet. A joint project between several nations, it utilized cutting-edge propulsion systems and composite materials that made it nearly invisible to radar. Only 2 prototypes existed. "The risk is extreme," warned the American general. "We have no idea what their defensive capabilities are." Colonel Kang nodded. "I understand the risk, but we need more data if Dr. Yun's theory has any chance of success." All eyes turned to Dr. Yun, who stood near a display showing complex waveform patterns. Despite having been awake for over 30 hours, her mind remained sharp. She had spent her career studying quantum harmonics, a field that had seemed purely theoretical until now. "I found something," Dr. Yun announced, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "The alien ship's molecular structure has a unique harmonic vulnerability. We might be able to use Earth's ionosphere as a massive resonance amplifier." She clicked through several slides showing the energy patterns emitted by the Takral ship. "All materials have a resonant frequency," she explained in simple terms. like how an opera singer can shatter a crystal glass with just the right note. The alien ship's hull appears to be made of a crystalline material with quantum-locked molecular bonds. Incredibly strong, but still subject to the laws of physics. "You're saying we can break it with sound?" asked a skeptical European leader. "Not exactly sound," Dr. Yun corrected, "but a precisely calibrated electromagnetic frequency. The ship emits a very specific energy pattern. If we can generate the exact counter-frequency and amplify it using Earth's ionosphere, we might be able to disrupt those molecular bonds." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "What would you need?" asked the Secretary General finally. "Access to HFY facilities in Alaska, similar installations in Russia, China, and Australia. We would need to reprogram them all to work in concert," Dr. Yun said. "And we need precise data about the ship's energy field at multiple points. That's where Colonel Kang comes in." Colonel Kang nodded. "The Falcon can carry specialized sensors. If I can fly close enough without being detected, we can gather the data Dr. Yun needs." As the desperate plan began to form, the Takril were making their own moves. From the belly of the massive mothership, smaller craft began to deploy. Sleek, predatory vessels that descended toward major cities around the world. In the command center of the Takril ship, Commander Huan watched with satisfaction. "Begin the communication disruption," he ordered. "Target their military frequencies first, then civilian networks." Dury, his second-in-command, implemented the order. Across Earth, critical communication systems began to fail. Military commands couldn't reach their units. Emergency services fell silent. The internet fragmented as key servers went dark. "Their primitive technology makes this almost too easy," Dury remarked. "The scout ships report minimal resistance. Their aircraft attempt to approach but retreat when our weapons systems target them." Juan nodded, pleased. "Have any of their leaders responded to our ultimatum?" "A few smaller nations have already surrendered," Dury reported. "The larger powers are still silent." "They will learn," Juan said confidently. "Prepare the demonstration target. We'll destroy one small city when the deadline expires. That should convince the rest." Back on Earth, preparations moved with frantic speed. Colonel Kang suited up beside the sleek black shape of the Falcon. The experimental aircraft looked like no conventional plane. Its angles and curves designed to deflect and absorb radar rather than reflect it. "The flight path keeps you in cloud cover as much as possible," the mission controller explained. "The sensors need approximately 3 minutes of clear data at each of these 5 points around the alien ship." Colonel Kang studied the flight plan. "That's cutting it close to their defensive perimeter. It's the best we can do with the information we have." As Colonel Kang prepared for takeoff, Dr. Yun worked frantically with an international team of scientists. Through secure channels not yet affected by the alien jamming, they coordinated with facilities around the world. "The HAARP array in Alaska is being reconfigured now," reported one scientist. "Same with the Russian installation in Siberia." Dr. Yun nodded, her fingers flying over her keyboard. "We need precise synchronization. If we're off by even microseconds, this won't work." On screens around her, technicians at facilities across the globe worked to retune massive antenna arrays. Originally designed for studying the ionosphere, these facilities could generate powerful electromagnetic waves. If Dr. Yun's calculations were correct, they could create a resonance effect throughout Earth's upper atmosphere. As the deadline approached its final hour, the Takril broadcast another message to Earth. Commander Huan's stern face appeared on still-functioning screens worldwide. "Your resistance is meaningless. Your world now belongs to the Takril Empire," he stated coldly. "We detect your primitive aircraft attempting to approach our vessel. We detect your scientists attempting to develop countermeasures. These efforts will fail. Surrender now or face the consequences." The message ended abruptly, leaving fear in its wake. Unknown to Commander Huan, Colonel Kang's Falcon was already airborne, its revolutionary propulsion system barely whispering as it climbed through the clouds. The aircraft's skin, made of advanced metamaterials, absorbed radar rather than reflecting it. Maintaining course, Colonel Kang reported through a heavily encrypted channel. No indication they've detected me yet. In his cockpit displays, the massive alien ship grew larger. Up close, its crystalline surface seemed to pulse with internal light, patterns flowing across its surface like mysterious writing. Beginning first sensor sweep, he reported as he reached the initial mapping point. As the sensor data flowed back to Dr. Yun's team, she allowed herself the first moment of hope. The frequencies matched her predictions. The Takral ship's seemingly impenetrable defenses might indeed have a fatal flaw, one that humans, against all odds, might be able to exploit. Colonel Kang held the Falcon steady as he approached the underside of the massive alien ship. The crystalline surface loomed above him, shimmering with strange energy patterns. His aircraft, barely larger than a fighter jet, seemed tiny against the 5-mile expanse of the Takral vessel. Position reached, he reported through the secure channel. Beginning deployment of the first resonator. The bottom of the Falcon opened, releasing a small device that looked like a silver disc. Magnetic clamps activated as it touched the alien hull, securing it firmly to the crystalline surface. First resonator attached, Colonel Kang confirmed, moving to second position. On the ground, engineers and scientists worked frantically to modify Earth's existing atmospheric research facilities. The HAARP array in Alaska, originally designed to study the ionosphere, now had hundreds of additional antennas hastily installed. Similar upgrades were happening at facilities in Russia, Australia, and across Europe. Dr. Yun hadn't slept in nearly 40 hours. She stood in the main control room, surrounded by screens showing data from the resonators Colonel Kang was placing. Her eyes were red, but her mind remained sharp, focused on the complex calculations needed to find the exact frequency that would disrupt the alien ship's molecular bonds. The resonance pattern is becoming clearer, she told her team. I need more processing power to run the final simulations. Around the world, universities and research labs donated computing resources. Even private technology companies redirected their server farms to Dr. Yen's calculations. Meanwhile, the Takral scout ships had spread across the globe. They hovered above major cities, their weapons occasionally firing to destroy military assets that dared approach them. Their jamming technology disrupted communications, making coordination difficult for Earth's defenders. In his command center, Commander Huan monitored the situation with growing irritation. These humans continue to resist, he noted to Dury. Their aircraft are still attempting to approach our scout ships despite our demonstrations of power. Dury checked the sensors. Most of their attacks appear disorganized. Their weapons are ineffective against our shields. What the Takral commanders didn't realize was that many of these attacks were deliberate distractions. Fighter jets from various nations engaged in seemingly futile missions against the scout ships, drawing attention and resources away from Colonel Kang's crucial mission. Back in the Falcon, Colonel Kang maneuvered to the third resonator position. Suddenly, his warning systems blared. I've been detected, he reported calmly. 2 alien fighters approaching from the east. The Takral fighters were small compared to their mothership, but still larger than the Falcon. They moved with impossible speed, their engines leaving trails of blue energy. Colonel Kang pushed the Falcon into a tight turn, skimming along the surface of the mothership. The experimental aircraft's engines strained as he pushed them beyond their tested limits. I still need to place 2 more resonators, he said, his voice steady despite the danger. The plan won't work without all 5. In the control center, Dr. Yun watched his position with growing alarm. Can we provide any support? Negative, came the reply from military command. All available forces are engaged with the scout ships. Colonel Kang is on his own. Colonel Kang's hands moved smoothly over the controls as he guided the Falcon through a series of maneuvers that no conventional aircraft could perform. The 2 alien fighters followed, their weapons charging. They're attempting to lock weapons, he reported, deploying countermeasures. From the Falcon, small drones released, each programmed to mimic the aircraft's signature. The alien fighters hesitated, momentarily confused by the multiple targets. Colonel Kang used that moment to dive beneath the mothership's curve, finding the fourth resonator position. Fourth resonator away, he confirmed as another silver disc attached to the hull. One more to go. Dr. Yin's screen showed the network forming as the resonators activated. "The pattern is working," she said. "The resonators are communicating with each other and sending us vital data about the ship's molecular structure." Her algorithms processed the information, refining the calculations for the precise frequency needed. "The molecular bonds will shatter if we hit exactly 18.7 terahertz, she announced. "But our timing must be perfect. All facilities need to fire simultaneously." On the mothership, Commander Huan received an alert from his security systems. "We're detecting small devices attached to our hull," reported a concerned officer. Huan frowned. "Analysis. They appear to be some kind of scanning devices. They're emitting low-level energy pulses. Destroy them," Huan ordered, "and find whatever placed them there." Dury checked the sensor readings. "We've detected a small aircraft using unusual stealth technology. 2 fighters are in pursuit." Huan's 4 eyes narrowed. "These humans are more resourceful than anticipated," he admitted to Dury. "But it changes nothing. Prepare the main weapon systems. We'll begin destroying their cities earlier than planned." What the Takril didn't expect was what was happening across the globe. As their deadline approached, civilians were taking action in ways the aliens couldn't comprehend. In New York, thousands of people gathered in Times Square, looking up at the massive ship and refusing to evacuate despite military orders. Similar gatherings happened in cities worldwide. The Takril were confused by this behavior. On previous worlds, populations had fled in terror. These gatherings served a purpose beyond simple defiance. The Takril diverted resources to monitor these unusual civilian movements, trying to understand if they represented a threat. In rural areas, farmers drove tractors equipped with homemade transmitters, broadcasting random frequencies to create background noise that partially interfered with Takril communications. Amateur radio operators worldwide coordinated to maintain communication channels when conventional networks failed. These improvised communications helped coordinate the global response. Colonel Kang used the confusion to his advantage. With the alien fighters momentarily distracted by commands from the mothership, he pushed the Falcon toward the final resonator position. "Almost there," he muttered, his hand steady despite the alien fighters closing in again. The 5th position was the most dangerous, directly beneath the ship's main energy core. As he approached, the Falcon's sensors detected increasing energy levels. The mothership was powering up its weapons. "They're preparing to fire on a major target," he reported. "I estimate less than 5 minutes before they're ready." Dr. Yun's voice came through his headset. "We need that 5th resonator, Colonel. Without it, the resonance field won't be complete." Colonel Kang pushed the Falcon forward. The alien fighters had spotted him again and were closing fast. "Just a few more seconds," he muttered, his hand steady despite sweat beading on his forehead. The Falcon shuddered as a glancing shot from one of the pursuers struck its wing. Warning lights flashed across his control panel. "System damage at 30%, the onboard computer reported. Structural integrity compromised." Colonel Kang ignored the warnings, positioning the Falcon exactly under the target point. "Deploying final resonator now." The 5th silver disc dropped from the aircraft and attached to the hull. Immediately, all 5 resonators pulsed with synchronized light, forming a perfect pentagon pattern across the underside of the massive ship. "Resonator network complete," he reported, already pulling the damaged Falcon away. "Beginning evasion maneuvers." Dr. Yun's team erupted in cheers as the data from all 5 resonators flowed in. "We have what we need," she confirmed. "All atmospheric facilities, prepare for activation." Synchronizing countdown. Across the planet, the hastily upgraded facilities prepared to generate the precise frequency that would turn Earth's ionosphere into a weapon. As Colonel Kang pushed his damaged aircraft to its limits, Evading the pursuing alien fighters, he allowed himself a small smile. Humans might be primitive compared to the Takral, but they had one advantage the aliens had never considered. They were fighting for their home. The world had never attempted anything like this before. Power plants across the globe began redirecting their output toward the atmospheric research facilities. Coal plants, nuclear stations, hydroelectric dams, solar farms, wind turbines, all synchronized their efforts to generate an unprecedented surge of electricity. In major cities, rolling blackouts began as power was diverted. Hospitals switched to emergency generators. Essential services maintained minimal power while everything else went dark. Power levels at 70% and climbing, reported a technician at the control center where Dr. Yun monitored the global effort. Alaska HFY facility ready, Russia ready, Australia ready, European array ready. Dr. Yun checked the final calculations one last time. The resonator data from Colonel Kang's mission had given them exactly what they needed, the precise frequency it would disrupt the quantum-locked molecular bonds of the Takral ship. Synchronize timing systems, she ordered. We'll have one chance at this. If the frequency isn't exact, or if our timing is off by even milliseconds, it won't work. High above, Colonel Kang pushed the damaged Falcon beyond its design limits. One engine was failing, and the flight control systems flickered. The alien fighters continued their pursuit, their weapons firing blue energy beams that narrowly missed the Earth aircraft. Falcon status critical, he reported calmly. Estimate 3 minutes of flight capability remaining. The resonator network is fully active, Dr. Yun informed him. Begin your final escape run, Colonel. Get as far from that ship as possible. Colonel Kang angled the Falcon downward, pushing through the thin upper atmosphere. The alien fighters followed, determined to destroy the human craft that had placed the mysterious devices on their mothership. On the bridge of the Takral vessel, Commander Huan was preparing to demonstrate his power. The ship's main weapon was almost charged, a devastating energy beam that could level an entire city. Target locked on human capital city, reported the weapons officer. Firing sequence initiated. Suddenly, a junior officer approached Huan with concern. Commander, the devices attached to our hull are showing increased activity. They appear to be generating some kind of resonance field. Huan dismissed this with a wave. Nothing can penetrate our molecular bonds. Continue the firing sequence. On Earth, the moment had arrived. Power levels at all facilities reached maximum capacity. The specialized antennas, now upgraded and modified according to Dr. Yun's specifications, were ready to transmit. All systems ready. The global coordinator confirmed. Awaiting your command, Dr. Yun. Dr. Yun took a deep breath. The weight of humanity's survival rested on her calculations. If she was wrong, the Takral would fire their weapon, destroying Washington, D.C. and millions of lives. There would be no second chance. Initiate resonance sequence, she said firmly. Full power. Around the world, the modified HFY facilities and similar installations activated simultaneously. Massive amounts of energy surged into the specialized antennas, which directed precisely tuned electromagnetic waves upward into the ionosphere. The ionosphere, a layer of Earth's upper atmosphere filled with charged particles, began to vibrate with the incoming energy. Normally invisible, it now shimmered with faint light as the particles responded to the electromagnetic stimulus. The 5 resonators attached to the Takral ship activated in perfect synchronization, creating a feedback loop that matched the frequency being generated from Earth. They began to pulse with increasing brightness. Colonel Kang, still evading the alien fighters in his failing aircraft, looked up to see the underside of the mothership beginning to shimmer oddly. Something's happening to the alien vessel, he reported. The hull appears to be vibrating. On the bridge, Commander Huan felt it first, a subtle vibration running through the deck plates beneath his feet. Then the alarms began. Commander, shouted the science officer, we're detecting an unusual energy pattern permeating the ship's hull. The vibration increased rapidly, becoming a visible tremor. Equipment began to shake. The perfect crystalline walls of the command center showed something that had never happened before, tiny, hairline cracks appearing on their surface. "What is happening?" Juan demanded as more alarms blared across the bridge. "How are they affecting our hull integrity?" Dury frantically checked the sensor readings. "The humans are somehow generating a resonant frequency that matches our molecular structure. It's creating harmonic vibrations throughout the hull." "Impossible," Juan snarled. "Divert power to structural reinforcement. Destroy those devices on our hull." But it was already too late. The resonance effect was building exponentially. Earth's ionosphere was now fully engaged, humming with an intensifying frequency that matched the ship's molecular signature. The entire atmosphere had become a weapon, focused precisely on the Takral vessel's fundamental weakness. In the control center, Dr. Yun watched her monitors anxiously as the readings climbed toward the critical threshold. The power consumption was beyond anything Earth's infrastructure had ever handled. Transformers were overheating. Power lines were failing. But it was working. "We're approaching the critical frequency," she announced. 18.3 terahertz, 18.5, 18.6. Colonel Kang had finally managed to put some distance between the Falcon and the mothership. Looking back, he saw the entire massive vessel now vibrating visibly, surrounded by a strange shimmer in the air. "The alien fighters are breaking off pursuit," he reported with surprise. "They're returning to the mothership." The Takral pilots had received desperate recall orders. The mothership was in trouble, and all combat craft were needed to attempt stabilization measures. On the bridge, chaos reigned. The vibration had become so intense that crew members struggled to remain standing. The once perfect crystalline surfaces were now covered with spreading networks of cracks. "Weapons systems offline," shouted the tactical officer. "Engine control failing," reported another. Juan gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered violently. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Their technology is primitive." Dury, ever loyal, struggled to reach his commander's side. "The resonance is approaching critical levels. The molecular bonds are beginning to fail systematically." In the control center on Earth, Dr. Yun's monitors showed the frequency reaching the crucial threshold. 18.7 terahertz achieved, she announced, maintaining power. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The microscopic fractures in the Takral hull suddenly expanded, spreading like lightning across the crystalline surface. The quantum-locked molecular bonds that made the ship invincible were vibrating at precisely the frequency that caused them to break down. The Takral attempted emergency maneuvers, trying to escape Earth's atmosphere, but they were already caught in the planet's atmospheric trap. The entire ionosphere had become a weapon, enveloping the ship in the destructive frequency. "Hull breach in sections 12 through 27, reported a Takral officer, panic evident in his voice. "Catastrophic failure imminent." Commander Juan, who had conquered 17 worlds without defeat, finally understood. These humans, with their primitive technology, had found the one weakness in the Takral's perfect defense. They had turned their entire planet into a weapon. "Prepare evacuation protocols," he ordered grimly. "The ship is lost." As the order was given, a massive crack ran the entire length of the command center ceiling. The perfect crystalline structure that had withstood the weapons of advanced civilizations was failing, brought down by the resourcefulness of a species the Takral had dismissed as primitive. On Earth, power grids strained to maintain the resonance effect. Blackouts spread across continents as every available watt was channeled into the HAARP facilities. But people standing in the darkness looked up at the night sky and saw something extraordinary. The mighty alien vessel beginning to break apart. The massive alien vessel trembled in Earth's atmosphere as if it were made of jelly rather than nearly indestructible crystalline material. The beautiful blue-white ship that had arrived with such menace now seemed fragile and wounded. Brilliant white light poured from thousands of widening cracks in its structure as the resonance frequency did its work. Inside the ship, chaos reigned. Takrill crew members ran through corridors as sections of ceiling collapsed around them. Warning sirens blared and emergency lights flashed. The perfect order of the mighty warship had given way to panic and fear. Commander Juan stood on the bridge, watching as his command center literally crumbled around him. The view screen showed the horrifying truth. The ship's molecular bonds were failing everywhere at once. Nothing could stop the cascade of destruction now. All personnel to escape pods. Juan ordered, abandoning his conquest dreams with those 6 words. This is not a drill. Evacuate immediately. Dury looked at his commander with shock. In 17 planetary conquests, the Takrill had never retreated, never been defeated. Commander, perhaps if we... This ship is lost. Juan cut him off. Save who we can. That's an order. Throughout the massive vessel, Takrill crew members rushed to evacuation areas. The escape pods were small vessels, each designed to carry 20 crew members safely to a planetary surface. They had never been used in actual emergency conditions before. As the first pods launched from the dying ship, Juan made his way to his personal evacuation vessel. A tremendous crack split the bridge in half, separating him from his command staff. He saw Dury on the other side, saluting him one last time before running toward another escape route. The commander's pod launched just as his section of the ship broke apart. Through the viewport, he watched in disbelief as the mighty Takrill warship, supposedly indestructible, began to come apart in earnest. On Earth, people watched the spectacular sight. The alien ship glowed brighter than the full moon as energy escaped from its failing containment systems. Then, with a silent flash that lit up the sky like daylight, the main power core breached. The Takrill ship disintegrated in a spectacular display visible across the hemisphere. What had been a single massive vessel became thousands of fragments, burning like artificial meteors as they entered the atmosphere. Some pieces were as small as grains of sand, while others were the size of buses or larger. The larger fragments were the escape pods, designed to survive atmospheric entry. They streaked across the sky, leaving glowing trails behind them as their heat shields protected the occupants inside. Military forces worldwide tracked these pods, predicting landing locations. Within an hour, helicopters and ground forces converged on landing sites across North and South America, Europe, Asia, and the Pacific Ocean. At a site in a remote forest in South Korea, Commander Juan's pod had made a rough but survivable landing. He sat inside, watching through the viewport as human military vehicles surrounded him. Soldiers in protective gear approached cautiously, weapons ready. Juan activated the pod's universal translator and opened the hatch. He stepped out slowly, hands raised in the universal gesture of surrender. "I am Commander Juan of the Takrill," he announced. "I seek terms." 3 days later, the world was still coming to terms with what had happened. The Takrill threat had been ended, but now humanity faced a new challenge: what to do with the approximately 2,000 alien survivors. In a hastily established facility near Seoul, Dr. Eun led the scientific team communicating with the surviving Takrill leadership. She had become something of a global hero, the physicist whose brilliant insight had saved Earth from conquest. Commander Juan had been brought to this facility after initial security processing. He sat across from Dr. Eun in a simple conference room, 2 translators working to improve communication between them. "Your species has done what no other has ever achieved," Juan told her during their first meeting. His once proud posture was now more measured, more respectful. "In thousands of years of Takrill expansion, no world has defeated our ships. Perhaps we have much to learn from each other." Dr. Eun studied the alien commander thoughtfully. The Takrill were humanoid, but clearly not human. Taller, with gray skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and 6-fingered hands. Yet their expressions and body language were surprisingly readable. "We don't want to be your enemies," she replied carefully. "But we won't be conquered either. Earth must remain free and independent." Juan nodded slowly. The Takral Empire is far from here. Without our ship, we cannot return. We are stranded on your world. Then we need to find a way to coexist, Dr. Yun said. You have knowledge and technology that could benefit humanity. We have a home that you now need. In the weeks that followed, a remarkable transition began. The remaining Takral scout ships were surrendered and studied by international teams of scientists. The technology was centuries beyond Earth's capabilities, faster than light drives, energy weapons, advanced materials science. But perhaps more valuable was the knowledge the Takral brought. Star charts showing hundreds of inhabited worlds, histories of civilizations that had existed for millennia, scientific principles that human physicists had only begun to theorize about. In exchange, the Takral were granted sanctuary. Special communities were established where they could live in environments adapted to their needs. Some humans feared or distrusted the aliens, but most recognized the incredible opportunity for advancement that their arrival, however hostile initially, had created. 6 months after the destruction of the Takral ship, the first human Takral cooperative project was unveiled. A small spacecraft that combined Takral drive technology with human manufacturing capabilities. It wasn't large enough for interstellar travel, but it could reach Mars in hours rather than months. Dr. Yun and Commander Huan stood side by side at the unveiling ceremony. Their unlikely partnership had become a symbol of what was possible when former enemies chose cooperation over conflict. When your ship first appeared above Earth, I thought it was the end of everything, Dr. Yun admitted quietly as they watched the new vessel being prepared for its test flight. Instead, it was a beginning, Huan replied. The Takral believed our strength was in our invincible ships and weapons. We were wrong. True strength lies in adaptation, in finding solutions where none seem to exist. Your people showed us that. News of Earth's victory over the Unbreakable Takral ship had been transmitted into space using the aliens' own communication technology. The galaxy received the message. Earth was not to be underestimated. Several neighboring star systems had already sent transmissions expressing interest in diplomatic relations with the planet that had defeated the feared Takral. Humanity prepared to take its first united steps into interstellar diplomacy, with the captured Takral technology accelerating human advancement beyond imagination. The stars, once impossibly distant, now seemed within reach. And it had all begun with a single insight, that everything, no matter how strong it appears, has a frequency at which it will break. The end.